Hello, you're listening to The Olive Tree. I'm Julia Fisher, and this is the programme that tells the stories of believers living in Israel and the West Bank, both Jews and Arabs. On today's programme, we hear from Dov Bikas, a Russian Jewish pastor. You join us just after we'd walked around an area of southern Tel Aviv where literally scores of drug addicts can be found. It's a place that has an air of hopelessness and desperation. Dov explains how he became involved in helping these people.
About 9 years ago, we had to move from Arad to Tel Aviv area because in the south it was no school for our son. So when we moved to the center, to Tel Aviv area, I thought the Lord will use me in church planting. I thought this is my gift. And we tried here and there, but didn't succeed because the Russian Jews, they were not open anymore to the gospel. And then we had the idea, like a vision, to come to start a church in South Tel Aviv. This is the most miserable area in Israel, and I know that tourists don't come here, but Jesus would come. I know that if Jesus would be physically here, he would visit these places. So we came here, we never planted a church, but we found out, and it's very interesting. I'm an evangelist, and just find out that especially the drug addicts, they are very open to the gospel. So now 9 years we have a ministry with drug addicts, different activities, street evangelism. We provide for them food, drinks, Bibles, testimonies. Like I always say, we started with one table and now we have 3 centers. These days we have one day center, it's called Aviv. The drug addicts, people that live in the street, they can come, eat, drink, take shower, change clothes, hear Bible studies, and from here also, if they are willing, they can be taken to rehab centers. So we have 2 rehab centers and 1 day center.
We're currently sat on the border between southern Tel Aviv, in the area that we've just been describing, where there are thousands of drug addicts. Yeah. And we're actually looking at enormous skyscrapers, one of the banking quarters of Tel Aviv. So you've got rich and poor literally living side by side here. Your heart, though, is not just to serve food and drink. Your heart is to really save their soul, isn't it, and see them come to faith.
Yeah, we see that, I mean, the real way to help them, even when we came, the words that Jesus said in John chapter 8, that if the Son will set you free, you will be free indeed. We took it like it is. That's what we believe, that Jesus can set them free. We didn't so much fruits in the beginning, but then we start seeing, we saw quite many lives that not got only saved physically, because people, like I say, they dying here like flies. You see somebody, you're not sure if you see him tomorrow, but we saw people saved not only physically, but also spiritually. Life was changed and they became believers.
You say that they're very open. They're very open to hear about Jesus, about Yeshua.
Yeah, it's interesting that first when we came, we saw that they're very open. Like for example, if I will take a bag with books and literature, Bibles, and I will stand here near this bank and offer them books and tracts, they will say, no, thank you, I don't need this. But then I walk 200 meters to this miserable area and my bag will be gone in 10 minutes. And they're not only taking books, but also good conversations. Some of them are, even they look bad, they're still very smart. But lately I learned something new. It's interesting, we see this example in the Bible with the leader of the synagogue, Jairus. Yeah? He came to Jesus because his daughter was dying, his only daughter was dying. If the daughter would not be dying, he would never come to Jesus. So same we see here with the drug addicts. They also come to us because nobody else can help them. And when they come to us, they are helped. And most of our volunteers, the drug addicts that been here to the streets, and others can see it. So we see that Jesus is really glorified here in this ministry.
You say that in the area of Tel Aviv that we've just walked through, this miserable area, as you put it, that 70% of the drug addicts are from a Russian background. Why is that?
I think it's you find it everywhere with the immigrants. I think every country you will find out that immigrants are more problematic than the native citizens, economically weak. Or same what happened with me when we came to Israel. So the parents, they were working long days and I was in the street. So
you were showing us some pictures of people who have come off drugs. You've seen them rescued, plucked from the fire. You say actually that the drug problem here is like a modern day Holocaust.
Yeah, I would say it's a modern day's Holocaust. You see, it's the same enemy, the enemy that came to kill, to steal and to destroy. So I think if somebody dies, drug addict dies, it's not on the news, it's not on the newspaper. But I think if you compare the numbers of drug addicts in the world, you know how many are dying every year, I think the numbers will be huge. Suicides, overdose, different problems. So it's like Holocaust. Also the way they look, sometimes they look so skinny, like they're from Auschwitz. It's only, you look at these girls, especially their bones and skin. We do so, quite many of them got saved. And I believe that maybe the reason that we saw a couple, dozens, you say, yeah, that got saved. But the reason that we didn't sow much more fruits, it's because of our resources. I believe that, like, we have now 2 centers and 15 guys living there. You cannot put more than 10 in one home. But I'm convinced that if today we would have 10 centers, so we would have 50 young men living there, and most of them would be fully recovered and back to normal life.
Tell me about some of the people that you have seen come back to normal life. For example, the manager of the day center that we've just been to in Tel Aviv.
Actually, the manager of the day center, Igor, that we met, he's the manager of the rehab center in Beersheba. He's from a Christian home. His mother is a believer. He grew up in the church, Sunday school, and then he also immigrated from Russia, like me, the age of 12. And when he was 15, 16, he became a drug addict. Usually start with light drugs, and then he became a heroin addict. He used heroin for 5 years, and then he came to the center in Haifa. He stayed there for 4 years. He was fully recovered from drugs. He really changed. He became a strong and mature believer. He's only 25, but he's really mature. He already had a nice job. He got plans to marry. And then we offered him to become the director of the rehab center. And interesting, the guy told me, I had other plans for my life, but he said, I want to go for the Lord, yeah, I want to serve the Lord. So he left all his plans behind, and he's very, very nice, very successful. He's doing a very good job, yeah. And another guy that he's the director of the center here in Tel Aviv, his name is Max. And we met Max 5 years ago here in Tel Aviv. He was a street drug addict. First he came to our Bible studies. Then he went to the rehab. He got baptized. Then he became the helper of the manager in the rehab. And then we asked him also to work full time, and he became the director in Tel Aviv. He got married, and also he studied. He became electrician, and then we called him to work full time. And a month ago, he had a baby, a son, Noam. And interesting, about a week ago, Max called me on the phone, and he told me that his son Noam is the fruit of our ministry. And I couldn't understand first the connection, how his son is the fruit of our ministry. So Max said that without our ministry, he would still be here in the street like the other guys. All those are his friends that come today to the center. So he said I would be a drug addict, I would never be married, and I would not have this beautiful son.
Looking to the future, you're very keen to start a centre for women. There are many prostitutes here, women drug addicts.
First of all, there is a need here, yeah? And it's a good ministry, because a good ministry, it's where people getting saved. You see fruits, lives are changed. It's realistic. We are not talking about vision. We are talking about something that works now for 9 years. But it's also having a potential, like I said before, for grow. Yeah. So now we really want to develop our organization, making it strong, and now I'm also thinking about Aviv ministry. Will in a year or two, I want it to become a real organization that will last after me. So we already have, we will have soon a first meeting of our board. Yeah, we already have a board, and yeah, so we have interesting plans for the future. Yeah.
Dov Bikas, a Russian Jewish pastor, sharing his story. You're listening to The Olive Tree with me, Julia Fisher. The Olive Tree Reconciliation Fund is a Christian charity based in the UK that supports the needs of both Jewish believers and Arab or Palestinian Christians living in Israel and the wider Middle East. If you would like to find out more about our work and receive our free bi-monthly newsletter, please either visit our website, olivetreefund.org, or write to me, Julia Fisher, at the Olive Tree Reconciliation Fund, PO Box 850, Horsham, RH12 9GA in the UK. Join me at the same time next week for another story from the Olive Tree. Until then, goodbye.